The forbidden chamber human engineer named Rylan had never been inside an alien warship before. The air smelled cold and metallic. Every surface gleamed with silver lights that pulsed like slow heartbeats. He could hear the distant hum of engines vibrating under his boots as the alien guards led him down a narrow corridor. Rylan's wrists were bound in front of him with a thin blue cord that glowed. When he tried to pull away, he was not afraid of the cord. He was afraid of where they were taking him. They stopped in front of a tall door made of dark glass. One guard tapped a code into a panel, and the door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, the guard said in a flat-voiced Rylan stepped in, blinking as the lights brightened. The chamber was empty except for two cells. One was small, with clear walls. The other was deep and dark, hidden behind a thick barrier of metal bars. You will stay here until your trial, the guard said. What about the other cell? Rylan asked before he could stop himself. The guard's eyes flicked toward the shadows. Do not speak to it, he said sharply. It. Rylan echoed. The guard turned away. Do not look. Do not listen. If you value your life. The door closed behind them, sealing him in. The room went silent. Rylan moved to the edge of his small cell. He pressed his hands against the transparent wall and looked around. The dark cell was only a few steps away, but he could see almost nothing inside. He could feel someone watching him. The hairs on his neck stood up. He cleared his throat. Hello? He called softly. No answer. He waited. Minutes passed. The silence grew heavier, pressing against his chest. He was about to turn away when he heard a voice so quiet he almost thought he imagined it. Why are you not afraid? Rylan froze. The voice was low, rough, and strangely soft at the same time. It sounded female. I don't know, he said carefully. Should I be? He thought he saw a slight movement in the darkness. A glimmer of silver light caught on something smooth, like armor. They said you would not speak to me, the voice said. Maybe I'm curious. Rylan said, maybe you are a fool, she replied. He let out a shaky breath. Maybe. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. He sat down on the floor, keeping his eyes on the shadows. What is this place? He asked quietly. A prison, she said. And you? She did not answer right away. Then, in a voice that sounded almost tired, she said, I am the thing they fear. Rylan frowned. You don't sound like a monster. He thought he saw her head turn toward him. That is what makes me dangerous, she whispered. He felt a chill slide down his spine, but he could not look away. What do they call you? Rylan asked. Another long silence. They call me many names, she said. Curse-bearer, oath-breaker, unworthy. What do you call yourself? The shadows moved again. He thought he saw the outline of a tall figure, her shoulders broad, her head bowed. I have no name, she said softly. Rylan felt something tighten in his chest. He had never heard someone sound so alone. Would you tell me why you are here? He asked gently. Double quotes. No, she said. It is not your burden. Maybe I want to know. He said. She was quiet again. Then, in the smallest voice he had heard so far, she whispered, no one has ever asked me that. He leaned closer to the bars, even though part of him was afraid. Then maybe it's time someone did, he said. The silence grew thick between them. Then he heard her take a slow breath. Why do you look at me when everyone else looks away? She asked. Rylan thought carefully before he spoke. Because, he said, I don't believe anyone is truly unworthy. He thought he saw her hand curl around the bars, long fingers covered in silver armor. Why do you call me beautiful? Human? She asked in a voice that trembled. Rylan single quotes as heartbeat so hard he could feel it in his throat. Because, he whispered, you are. For the first time, the darkness didn't feel as cold. The hidden scars. Rylan woke to the sound of soft metal clinking. For a moment, he forgot where he was. Then he felt the hard floor under him, smelled the cold air, and remembered the alien warship, the dark cell, and the voice that had called him foolish. He lifted his head and looked toward the shadows. The figure was still there, motionless, behind the bars. Are you awake? He asked quietly. The shape shifted. He saw a glint of silver as she moved her head. I do not sleep, she said softly. Why not? I do not trust the dreams, she whispered. He swallowed. There was a sadness in her voice that made his chest ache. You don't have to be afraid of me, Rylan said. I am not afraid of you, she replied. Then why do you hide your face? She was silent for so long he thought she wouldn't answer. Then, very slowly, she reached up and touched her helmet, because, she said, no one wants to see what is underneath. Ryland stood and took a careful step closer. The energy field between their cells hummed softly. I do, he said. She didn't move. I want to see you, Ryland said again. His voice steadied. The figure shifted. Her hands came up, and he heard the hiss of hidden locks releasing. The helmet lifted away. Ryland held his breath. Her face was unlike any he had imagined. Her skin was pale, marked with thin, dark lines that looked almost like cracks. One side of her jaw was covered in smooth silver, as if metal had fused with bone. Her eyes were a deep, luminous blue that seemed too bright for the dim cell. She looked down, as if ashamed. Now you see, she whispered. I am broken. No, Ryland said. You are beautiful. Her eyes flicked up to meet his. Why do you say that? She asked, her voice shaking. Because it's true, he said simply. She turned her head away. He saw her throat move. As she swallowed, they told me I was cursed. She said that anyone who looked at my face would die. Has it happened? He asked. Yes, she whispered. He felt a chill, but he didn't step back. What happened? He asked softly. I do not know, she said. When I was taken from my home, they experimented on me. They changed me. After that, everyone who came close to me grew ill. No healer could cure them. Her voice broke. So they called me cursed. She said, they locked me away. Ryland pressed his hand to the energy field. Maybe you're not cursed, he said. Maybe they just didn't understand. Her blue eyes met his again. You are not afraid. No, he said. I'm angry for you. She stared at him as if she didn't believe it. What do you want me to call you? Ryland asked gently. She looked away again. I told you, she said. I have no name. Then let me give you one, he said. She looked back at him, her eyes wide. Why? Because you deserve to be known, he said. She was silent for a long time. What name would you give me? She whispered. Ryland thought for a moment. Solara, he said softly. She blinked. What does it mean? It means the one who carries light, he said. Her lips parted. Her eyes shimmered. No one has ever named me, she said in a trembling voice. Now someone has, Ryland said. The chamber fell silent again. But it was a different silence now. It felt warmer. She lifted her hand and pressed it to the bars. Thank you, she whispered. He stepped closer. Solara, he said, trying the name again. She closed her eyes. It is beautiful, she said. So are you, he replied. She didn't argue this time. She only stood there, breathing slowly, as if she was trying to believe it. The secret passed the next day. The guards did not come to bring food. Ryland and Solara sat in their separate cells, waiting. The silence felt heavier than before. Ryland's stomach ached from hunger, but he tried not to think about it. Instead, he studied the way Solara stood in the dark, as still as a statue. He wondered how long she had been here, locked away from everyone. Solara, he said softly, will you tell me what happened to you? Her eyes opened. They glowed in the dim cell. You will not want to hear it, she said. I do. Ryland insisted. For a moment, he thought she would refuse. Then she took a slow breath. Long ago, my people were chosen to protect this ship, she began. We were warriors, loyal, proud. She paused, her fingers tightening on the bars. One day, I was called to a secret mission, she continued. They said I had to retrieve an artifact that could end the war. What was it? Ryland asked. A crystal, she said. They said it held great power, but when I touched it, something went wrong. Her voice grew softer, almost like she was speaking to herself. The crystal cracked. Light poured out. It burned my skin. I thought I would die. Ryland felt a cold shiver down his spine. What happened next? When I woke, I was different, she whispered. My body had changed. The marks appeared on my skin. My eyes glowed, and everyone who came near me fell ill. So they blamed you, Ryland said quietly. They said I broke the artifact, she said. They called me cursed. They locked me away. Her voice broke. I did not mean to hurt anyone, she whispered. Double quotes. I know, Ryland said gently. She looked up, her eyes shining. Why do you believe me? She asked. Because you don't sound like someone who would lie, he said. Her lips parted in surprise. No one has ever believed me, she said. I do, Ryland said. Solara turned her face away, but not before he saw a single tear slip. Down her cheek. The chamber fell quiet again. Rylan thought about everything she had told him. He knew the war between their species had lasted generations. He also knew that no one wanted to hear stories that didn't fit their hatred. Solara, he said softly, if I could help you prove you were innocent, would you let me try? She lifted her head slowly. You cannot, she said. Maybe I can, Rylan said. If there are records, logs, something that shows what really happened. Even if you find proof. They will not listen, she whispered. Then we will. Make them listen, Rylan said. She looked at him with wide, searching eyes. You are not like the others, she said. Maybe that's why I'm here, he said. A soft alarm sounded in the corridor. The door slid open and a guard entered carrying two metal trays. He set them on the floor between the cells without speaking. As he turned to leave, Rylan stepped close to the barrier. Wait, he called. The guard ignored him. Please, Rylan said, his voice firm. I need to speak to your commander. The guard finally turned his head. Why? He asked coldly. Because I have information about the artifact, Rylan said. Solara's eyes widened. The guard's gaze flicked to her cell, then back to Rylan. You are lying, he said. Am I? Rylan asked. You should at least hear what I know. The guard stared at him for a long moment. Then he walked out without another word. The door closed again. Solara looked at Rylan in disbelief. You risked angering them, she whispered. I don't care, Rylan said. If there's even a chance to prove you didn't deserve this. He trailed off. Solara reached up and rested her hand on the bars between them. No one has ever fought for me, she said softly. You deserve someone to fight for you, Rylan said. Her blue eyes glowed brighter. Why? She asked in a trembling voice. Because you are worth it, he said. And for the first time, Solara did not argue. The escape plan hours passed. Rylan sat on the cold floor, thinking about Solara's story again and again. He knew she was telling the truth. He could hear it in her voice. He could see it in her eyes. But he also knew no one would care. The door to the chamber stayed shut. No guard returned. No commander came to listen. Maybe they won't come back, Rylan said quietly. Solara looked up from her corner. They will come, she whispered. They will decide what to do with you, and they will never let me out. Rylan stood slowly. Then we have to get out ourselves. Her eyes widened. You cannot break out, she said. Maybe not alone, Rylan said, but together, maybe we can. He walked to the edge of his cell. The energy field buzzed softly when he reached out. Does this barrier ever turn off? He asked. Only when they bring food or move prisoners, Solara said. Then, we have to wait for that moment, he said. She shook her head. If you escape, they will hunt you. Let them try, Rylan said firmly. Solara was quiet. What would you do if you were free? He asked. She blinked. I do not know, she whispered. Would you hide? No, she said slowly. I would find the truth. Then help me, Rylan said. Help me find it with you. For the first time, he saw something almost like hope flicker in her bright eyes. You would risk your life, she asked. Yes, he said simply. Why? Because you deserve to be free, he said. Solara looked down, her silver marked, hands curling into fists. No one has ever said that to me, she whispered. Then I will say it again. Rylan told her. You deserve to be free. The alarm started without warning. A loud, rising wail that made the walls vibrate. The lights flickered red. Solara lifted her head fast. What is happening? Rylan shouted over the noise. The ship is under attack, she said. The floor shook under their feet. Dust rained down from the ceiling. Rylan's single quotes as heart pounded. This was their chance. When the guards come, he said quickly. We move. Move how? Solara demanded. I don't know, Rylan said honestly, but I will not stay here to die. The door burst open. The guards rushed in, weapons drawn. One ran to the console to check the controls. The other aimed his weapon at Rylan's cell. Do not move, he shouted. Rylan lifted his hand slowly, but his mind was racing. The guard at the console pressed buttons rapidly. The energy field around Solara's cell flickered. Wait, the other guard barked. Don't. But the lights above them flashed, and with a loud crackle, both barriers went dark. For a second, everyone froze. Then Solara moved. She slammed into the nearest guard, knocking his weapon from his hands. The other guard raised his gun toward her. Rylan didn't think. He grabbed the fallen weapon and swung it up, striking the guard across the head. The man fell with a heavy thud. Solara turned to Rylan, her chest heaving. "We must go," she said. "Lead the way." He gasped. They ran out into the corridor. The alarms were still screaming. Flashes of red light painted the walls. "This way," Solara said, pointing to a service tunnel. "Are you sure?" Rylan shouted over the noise. "No," she said, "but we have to try." They slipped into the tunnel. The door slid shut behind them. For a moment, it was almost quiet. Rylan leaned against the wall, catching his breath. Solara stood across from him, her silver-marked face pale in the dim light. "You should not have done that," she whispered. "I'm glad I did," he said. Her blue eyes met his. "Why do you care what happens to me?" she asked. He didn't hesitate. "Because you are not a curse," he said. "You are a person, and I will not leave you here." She closed her eyes, her hands trembling. "Then I will not leave you either," she whispered. And for the first time, they were both free of the walls that had held them. The sacrifice service tunnel was narrow and cold. Rylan's breaths came fast as he followed Solara deeper into the dark passage. Alarms still wailed somewhere behind them, echoing through the walls. He held the stolen weapon tight in his hands, but he had no idea if it would help. Solara moved with silent purpose. Every few steps, she paused to check the walls, searching for hidden panels or doors. "Where does this lead?" Rylan asked between breaths. "The maintenance bay," Solara said. "If we can reach it, there may be an escape pod." "How far?" "Far," she said quietly. Rylan swallowed. He felt his fear rising, but he forced himself to keep moving. After what felt like an hour, they came to a thick door with strange symbols etched across it. Solara pressed her palm to a small screen. It flickered, then turned red. "What does that mean?" Rylan asked. "The lock is damaged," she said. "The attack has broken the power lines." "Can you fix it?" "No," she whispered. Rylan's single quotes as heart sank. He looked over his shoulder. Any moment now, guards might find them. "Is there another way?" he asked. Solara's eyes glowed softly in the dark. "There is a chamber," she said slowly. "If we pass through it, we can reach the bay." "Then let's go," Rylan said. Her hand lifted. "No," she said, her voice trembling. "The chamber is sealed for a reason. It burns anyone who tries to cross." He stared at her. "Then how do we survive it?" She looked down. "Only one can survive," she whispered. Rylan understood. If one of them shielded the other, maybe there was a chance. He shook his head. "I won't let you do that," he said. "And I will not let you," she said firmly. They stood facing each other, both breathing hard. "Then what do we do?" Rylan asked. "We choose," Solara said quietly. For a moment, the alarms faded in his ears. He saw only her, the blue eyes that had watched him in the dark, the silver scars she had tried to hide, the quiet sadness that had filled her voice. When she said she had no name, "I will carry you," Rylan said softly. Her eyes widened. "No," she said. "You will die, so will you," he said. She looked away. "Then we stay here," she whispered. "No," he said. "We try." He took a step closer. She did not back away. "Solara," he said, "you spent your life locked away. You deserve to live. You deserve to find the truth. And you?" she asked. "I made my choice the moment I called you beautiful," he said. Her breath caught. "Please," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I cannot watch you die." "Then help me," he said. She looked up, her eyes shining. "Together?" she asked. "Together," he said. The chamber door slid open with a hiss. Bright white light flooded the tunnel. Rylan squinted against it. The heat hit his skin like a wave. Solara reached for his hand. Her touch was steady, even as the air shimmered around them. "It will hurt," she whispered. "I know," he said. She turned to him fully. "Let me go first," she said. "No," he said. "I will shield you." Before she could argue, he stepped forward. The light flared brighter. The heat grew worse. Rylan gritted his teeth and lifted his arms around her, shielding her body with his own. Her hands pressed against his chest. "Rylan, don't let go," he gasped. Step by step, they moved into the burning light. Rylan felt pain like he had never known. The air seared his skin. His breath came in ragged gasps. He held on to one thought. "She is worth it." Solara's voice reached him through the roar. "I'm sorry," she cried. "Don't be," he whispered. He did not know how long it took. Time twisted in the heat. He felt his legs buckle, just when he thought he would fall. Solara's arms wrapped around him. She pulled him forward, her own strength carrying them both. "I will not let you die," she whispered fiercely. The burning faded. The light dimmed. Rylan fell to his knees, shaking. Solara held him tight, her breath ragged. "You fool," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Why did you do that?" He looked up at her with a tired smile. "Because," he gasped, "you were never cursed." And then his eyes closed. Asterisk, the awakening. Solara held Rylan against her chest. His skin was burned. His breathing was shallow. She pressed her hand over his heart, feeling it flutter like a wounded bird. "Stay with me," she whispered. "Please." He didn't answer. Her eyes burned with tears. She had told herself she would never feel anything again, never let anyone close enough to matter. But now she knew she had lied. Rylan mattered more than anything. She looked up. The maintenance bay door stood open, its locking panel blinking red. Beyond it, she saw shadows moving, guards searching the corridors. If she didn't move fast, they would both be captured. She shifted Rylan carefully onto her back. He didn't stir. "Hold on," she whispered, though she knew he couldn't. "Here." She took a step forward. Her legs felt weak, but she forced them to move. Every step was a struggle, but she kept going, because he had carried her through the fire. Now it was her turn. The bay was cold and bright. Rows of small escape pods lined the far wall. Solara stumbled toward them, her vision blurring. An alarm blared as she crossed the floor. A mechanical voice spoke in a language she had once known, but had tried to forget. Unauthorized entry detected. "Prepare for lockdown." She ignored it. She reached the nearest pod and set Rylan down on the floor. His face was pale, his breath shallow. "You will not die," she whispered. She climbed inside and pulled him in after her. The pod was cramped, barely big enough for two. The controls blinked red, waiting for a command. She pressed her hand to the activation panel. The glass canopy slid closed over them. As the engines powered up, she turned to Rylan. She cupped his face in her hands. "You foolish human," she whispered, her voice shaking. "Why did you care?" His eyes fluttered but did not open. "You called me beautiful," she said. "You called me light." Her tears fell onto his skin. "I am nothing without you," she whispered. She pressed her forehead to his. "Stay," she begged. The pod shuddered as it launched into space. Stars spun past the glass. The ship that had been her prison shrank into the distance. She had never thought she would see the stars as a free being, but now freedom tasted hollow, without Rylan's voice beside her. She pressed her palm over his. "Hard again, please," she whispered. "Wake up." The pod's computer spoke in a calm voice. "Life support engaged. Medical scan in progress." A soft blue light swept over them. Solara held her breath. Injuries detected. Burns, severe exhaustion. Life signs weak but stable. She let out a shaky breath. Relief and sorrow tangled inside her. He was alive, for now. Hours passed as the pod drifted toward an unknown planet. Solara didn't move. She sat with Rylan's head in her lap, her hand resting over his heart. Sometimes she closed her eyes and remembered the way he had looked at her in the dark cell. Without fear, without disgust, just curiosity and something deeper. She had spent her whole life believing she was cursed, but he had never believed it, and maybe, she thought, he had been right. The pod shuddered again as it entered the atmosphere. Heat flared across the glass, but this time, she felt no fear. She looked down at Rylan's face. "You said I was worth it," she whispered. "I will prove you were right." The pod landed with a hard jolt. Dust rose around them, filling the air with a red haze. Solara waited until the engines powered down. Then she opened the canopy and lifted Rylan into her arms again. Outside, the planet was quiet and empty. A pale sun rose over low hills. She took one step forward, then another. Every part of her ached, but she kept going, because she would not let him die here, because she finally believed she was more than a curse. She was Solara. She was light, and she would save him. The ants for Solara carried Rylan across the rocky plain. The wind was dry and warm, lifting red dust around their feet. Every step felt heavier, but she would not stop. The little scanner she had taken from the escape pod beeped softly. It showed a small settlement 2 kilometers away. Maybe there would be healers. Maybe there would be help. She looked down at Rylan's pale face. "Hold on," she whispered. "I will not let you go." She reached the edge of the settlement as the sun climbed higher. The buildings were small and made of pale stone. A few figures in long robes watched her from a distance. She did not have the strength to hide her face. She did not care if they thought she was cursed. She walked straight to the nearest building and knocked with her elbow. Still holding Rylan against her chest, the door slid open with a soft hiss. An older woman with silver hair stood there. Her eyes widened when she saw them. "Please," Solara gasped. "He is hurt." The woman looked from Solara's glowing eyes to Rylan's burns. She nodded once. "Bring him inside," she said calmly. The room was cool and smelled of herbs. The woman guided Solara to a low bed. She helped her lay Rylan down carefully. "What happened?" she asked. "He protected me," Solara whispered. The woman did not ask more. She simply took a small device from a shelf and passed it over Rylan's body. Blue lights glowed along his skin. "He is alive," the woman said after a moment, "but very weak. He needs rest." Solara felt her knees give out. She sat beside the bed, her hands trembling. "Will he wake?" she asked in a small voice. "I believe so," the woman said gently. Solara closed her eyes. For the first time since they had fled the warship, she let herself believe it would be all right. Days passed. Rylan did not wake, but his breathing grew stronger. The woman brought water and food, never asking where they had come from. Sometimes Solara sat by the window, watching the sun rise and set. Sometimes she held Rylan's hand. Feeling the warmth slowly return to his skin, she thought about the cell, where they had met, the darkness, the fear, and she thought about the moment he had called her beautiful. On the fifth morning, Rylan stirred. His hand twitched in hers. Solara leaned forward, her heart racing. "Rylan," she whispered. His eyes fluttered open. He looked confused at first. Then he saw her face. A slow, tired smile curved his lips. "Solara," he croaked. She let out a shaking breath. "You are alive," she whispered. "Thanks to you," he said softly. "No," she said. "Thanks to you." They sat in the quiet room. Rylan reached up with weak fingers and touched her cheek. "Why are you crying?" he asked. She hadn't realized tears were falling, because, she whispered, "I thought I had lost you." "You didn't," he said. She closed her eyes and pressed her forehead to his. "Why did you do it?" she asked. "Why did you risk everything for me?" He took a slow breath. "Because," he said, "no one ever saw you the way I did." Her heart ached. "And how did you see me?" she whispered. He opened his eyes. "Beautiful," he said. "Not because of your face, because of your heart." Her breath caught. "But why do you keep saying that?" she asked in a trembling voice. He smiled. "Because it's true," he whispered, "and because you never believed it." Solara sat very still. She felt something warm and bright unfurl inside her chest. "Rylan," she whispered, "will you stay with me?" "Always," he said. She leaned down and kissed his forehead. "Then I will never hide again," she whispered. Outside the window, the sun rose over the red hills. The wind stirred the dust into small, dancing spirals. Solara took his hand in both of hers. And for the first time, she knew she was not cursed. She was loved. She was free. And she was beautiful. That morning, she finally understood that being seen and being loved were the same thing, and she would never be alone again.